And we are live. What's up? What's up? What's up, Fitness on Fire community and the world? I am here today with my acupuncturist, Aiden Seraphim. And this is a man back in like I don't even know, back in medieval days, back in like the way back. You used to have these people that were like healers. They were like gifted. They would just touch you and they would heal you somehow. And it was like they had mystical powers or something like that. And that has honestly been the truest experience that I've had with Aiden. Aiden is one of those healers. There's something about this dude that if you get around him, he's got this love and this energy that flows from him, and he really gives life force to the people that he works with. That's been my experience. I've been working with Aiden for almost 2 years now, and doing acupuncture. And the first thing I saw him for was like help me with my shoulder stuff. I'm an obstacle course racer, so I do a lot of climbing and a lot of lifting with my shoulders. So I was always having these stiff shoulders and these cracky shoulders. So he helped me kind of combat that. And then I turned up my training schedule, and I was getting ready for world championships last year, running 30, 40 miles a week through the mountains and stuff like that. And constantly come to Aiden with foot pains and all kinds of ankle and knee issues. And he would heal me with this stuff there. And then what's interesting is all the physical help he's given me has been great. But one of my favorite things that I go to see Aiden for is help to just I think we call it a nervous system dump, where basically he helps me wipe out all the anxiety and the stress and all the pressures that I'm dealing with as an entrepreneur. And that is the most therapeutic thing that I've ever experienced. So really, really honored to have you here today, Mr. Aiden. Sir, how you feeling today, my brother?
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Actually, I wanted to say how grateful I am to you and Heidi and the whole Fitness on Fire community, because I really think that I've been so impressed with the way that everybody's really stepped up and met this crisis from a place of responding and not reacting. And just to see like all the ways that you and Heidi have like creatively, generously, and meaningfully like created so much value for us during these times, dude. I really appreciate it. So thank you, man, for being you.
Well, thank you, brother. Thank you, man. See, I told you Aiden's just a giver. He had to give it forward. Dude, love you, man. Well, Aiden, I want to get into it. I know we have some really good stuff today. So I just want to start by kind of talking a little bit about acupuncture in general. I know that you've been practicing like health, healing, wellness for at least 15 years or so. What's it take to become an acupuncturist? Like, I don't know if everybody even really understands how much you really go through to become the licensed acupuncturist, the guru that you are. So tell us a little bit about what it takes to get there.
So I'll start by saying that I actually went to school originally and got my bachelor's degree in multicultural counseling because I was going to become a therapist. And then I had acupuncture for the first time, and it blew like my lid off. And I was like, holy crap, I have to learn how to do this. So I kind of switched gears. So it's a graduate program, 4 years. It's essentially like going to medical school, but you don't have to do the residency. We had to learn everything from a Western medical perspective as well as a Chinese medical perspective. We did cadaver labs. We did clinic rotations. We did internships. I had to write a thesis, which I actually did a research study at the Oregon Health and Sciences University in Portland. So there's quite a lot that goes into it, man.
Dude, for sure. I even understand that coming to California, there's like different like boards and stuff like that you take opposed to what you would take in other ends of the country. Is that true?
Yeah, man. So when I graduated, I had to take 3 sets of boards to get nationally certified. And then California has its own deal, so I had to come here, and I'd already been practicing for like 6 years at that point. And I had to go back and take their licensing exam, which is known to be epically difficult. I think it had an overall pass rate that was some insanely low number, and they only offer it twice a year. So I was just like, crap. So I spent like 6 months having to go back and like restuff all that information, which I actually loved because I love to learn, but I passed it on the first time. So.
Yeah. Nice, man. It's easy when you love it, right? And you know it, it permeates everything that you do. So I'm sure it was an easy test for you, especially after 6 years in practice.
Well, I'm a lifelong learner, so I actually am doing my doctorate now to get that in acupuncture and Chinese medicine so that I can teach, and I'll be graduating in December from that.
Dude, congrats. That's awesome.
Dr. Aiden.
Dr. Aiden, let's go. Dr. Seraphim. So it's funny when you talk to people, and this is what I'm trying to do with the lunch and learn thing on Fridays, right? It doesn't have to be crazy formal and all that, but what I really want to do is I just want to get people on that like love their stuff, that know their stuff, and they love their stuff. And if they can bring value for the Fitness on Fire community in those ways, like that's incredible. So I love talking to people that love what they do. You're one of those people for sure. Tell me, what is it though? Like, what brings you joy about acupuncture? Why do you love your practice?
Man, so like I said, originally I was drawn to psychology and really working with like trauma and stuff like that. And the thing that made me fall in love with Chinese medicine is that there is no mind-body split in the medicine. So everything is connected. So I don't know if you've ever heard that saying that your issues are in your tissues.
Yeah.
But like, you know, trauma and long-term emotional stagnation actually leads to disease in the body. I don't know if you've ever had like the experience. There's some great examples is like when somebody gets like really angry, a lot of times they'll be like, oh man, I got a headache, you know, from that, you know, or if somebody's like angry and frustrated for long periods of time, their body gets super tense. Then they get all these pain conditions and stuff, you know. Long-term anger can lead to high blood pressure and stuff like that. Or like people who chronically worry and ruminate about things, don't you ever hear them often say, oh, my stomach hurts or I feel nauseous? Mm-hmm. That's because the spleen is associated with the emotion of worry. In Chinese medicine, you know, it accounts for those connections, which is why I originally fell in love with it. But then also, I think it's important to understand that acupuncture is just one piece under this umbrella of Chinese medicine. So there's a lot of other modalities that we use, like nutrition, herbal medicine, mindfulness, movement, and a lot of other things that we can actually do under Chinese medicine.
So I think that's perfect. I think talking about Chinese medicine, I'm not sure everybody understands the difference between like Western medicine and Chinese medicine and all this. So maybe I think that's what you're probably going to help us kind of troubleshoot a little bit today, huh? Can you tell us a little bit, like, what is Chinese medicine? How does it work? Like,
so I would say, I mean, I think the easiest way to put it, because this could be a conversation that we had this entire time if we really go into it. Because like I said, Chinese medicine is a complex medical system. It's an entire medical system that has been around for over 2,000 years. So it has a long history, and it has a long history of efficacy. And it has a different premise than Western medicine. Chinese medicine looks at each person as this holistic system, and each part of the system is important. And as we look and explore within a person, we're finding the imbalances. Like basically we're finding what's at the root of their disorder or their disharmony or their disease, right? So we want to find, okay, where did you kind of go off mark, you know, like where did you kind of get out of alignment? And we go back to that. So for people, that's different. Some people, it's because maybe you don't eat, you know, nutritious food, and you have a long history of eating junk food and sugar. That's going to be like an area that's at the root of why maybe you now have metabolic syndrome or diabetes, right? So, you know, Chinese medicine isn't going to like give you a drug like they do in Western medicine and say, oh, here's a drug that's going to fix your problems, but just keep doing everything that you've been doing, you know? I mean, I have to be fair. I feel like the Western medical establishment is changing a lot, and they are promoting, you know, like the importance of eating healthy and moving your body and stuff. But I just feel like the thing that I love about Chinese medicine is that it's really about getting to the root of why something is out of balance and helping to fix it from that point up.
Very cool. Makes sense, man. Yeah, I think that whole like mind, body, spirit as one thing was something that kind of stuck with me the first time you explained it to me, that you might be healing somebody's physical pain by healing their emotional issues. That was kind of cool, right? That in Chinese medicine, you talked about there's no line between the two. Those things are one, right? A human being is treated as one whole piece. And I've experienced that with you. I've experienced that with you with, I think you called it the neural emotional technique. Is that what it was?
Yeah, man, I love that. I've had so many people come in And there's a way to test, like pain. Pain can manifest for many reasons, right? It could be a structural issue. If that's the case, then, you need to go see a chiropractor and get that adjusted. It could be a stagnation or a nerve issue. In that case, acupuncture is really, really helpful. Or, it could be a nutritional issue. It could be a toxicity issue, or it could be emotional. And we have ways of testing that, right? So I've had people come in that they've tried every single thing for a pain. One woman came in, she had this burning neck pain right here. She'd done everything, nothing worked. She did chiropractic, all of it, and I tested it, and it was clearly emotional. And we discovered that it had to do with her sister, and we worked like 2 or 3 sessions through that. That pain completely went away. And I didn't treat it physically. I treated it emotionally. It's pretty amazing.
Dude, love it. Awesome. Well, I know you said that you wanted to make today kind of experiential a little bit, and you wanted to share some stuff with the people that are on today. So I think you had a little bit of a presentation. Did you want to share that?
Yeah. So before I put up the presentation, because I really want us to go through this together. I'm not sure if people saw the message about having some oils on hand. If you didn't, don't worry about it. It can be just as powerful just to use acupressure and breathing that I'll go through with you. But before we start, I had mentioned that in Chinese medicine, there's an association between specific organs, but I want to broaden that out a little bit. So there's an association between specific organs, elements in nature, because Chinese medicine is based on our relationship to nature. And basically what we find is that the cycles that happen in nature also happen in our body. And that our body, needs to be in harmony with those cycles to be healthy. So I could totally geek out. It would take forever about 5-element acupuncture or Chinese medicine and how those associations with nature are. But let's just say that there's an organ, there's an element in nature, and then there's an emotion. So today we're going to go over 5 of them, the 5 main ones. We're going to go over the liver, wood, and anger. And then we're going to go over the heart, hatred, and fire. We're going to go over the spleen, earth, and worry, or rumination, blame. We're going to go over the lungs and criticism, judgment, or grief, sadness. And then we're going to go over the kidneys and fear, or that tendency that we have to become numb or to shut off completely, like ice. You think about water, it becomes very cold and iced off. And that's going to be the kidney and fear. So with no further ado, let me share my screen.
Whatever you just did took it off of my playlist thing. Can you bring it back for me?
There you go. Back now. Is it there?
Yep.
Awesome. So let me put this in play. And so before we get started, I just want to ask people to kind of just get comfortable, maybe sit cross-legged or in a chair if you want to go through this and experience it with us. And then just close your eyes for a second. Maybe just start to pay attention to your breath. Start to pay attention to the sensations in your body. And then just start to meet yourself where you're at right now. Maybe you've been forgetting to breathe for a little while now and your breath is nice and shallow, or maybe you've been taking full breaths and there's a lot of space there already, but just start to tap in to your body. I always like to get people kind of rooted in themselves by having them place their hand on their lower belly and then take 3 nice, deep, slow belly breaths. So if we want to do that together at your own rate, just feel your hand expand on the inhale and feel your hand collapse as you exhale. And just really be with your body, with the sensations of what it feels to breathe in and breathe out. Maybe one more. So as we bring kind of our mind, our body, and our awareness together right now in this moment, then as we go forward and start practicing these things, I feel like we're going to be able to experience them a lot more deeply. So the reason I wanted to talk about working with emotions today is because, we're being presented with a time when, there's a lot of hard stuff going on and a lot of difficult emotions that are coming up for so many of us. And when that happens, we get an opportunity to choose how we're going to respond to that. And our habitual tendency, I think, is when those things come up to say, either I don't want to feel that, I don't want to deal with that. And so we distract ourselves, through things like eating, food that's emotionally comforting. We distract ourselves through maybe sitting in front of the TV and checking out. Everybody, there's a million ways that we all do it. And either that or we go into blame because it's so uncomfortable. We can't sit with what's there that we blame other people. And from a Chinese medicine perspective, what they say is that the most damaging emotion is blame. Blame essentially is victimization. We victimize ourselves when we blame because we give our power away to something outside of ourselves. And so really by doing this work, by working with these emotions in this way, we're able to free ourselves of those tendencies and really get the learning, the wisdom, the growth that is possible through these difficult times. And there is a lot of learning and growth that is possible, I have to say. So with no further ado, let's start with liver. So what I want people to do is just for a quick second, take a look at this diagram so it'll help you locate the point. This one will be easier to do if you're sitting cross-legged. And what we're going to do is we're going to be working with a point called liver 3. All the points that we're going to be using today are called source points. What that means is that they access those organs directly. And there's a lot of interesting information on this slide. For anybody who's interested, I can email them the slides after this is over if they just reach out to me. So I'll let people really go through that on their own. But the most important things that I want to say about it is that we're accessing the liver, we're accessing anger, and we're going to use lavender. Lavender is really amazing at releasing tension from the muscles and really works amazing with the liver itself. And so what I want you to do is sit cross-legged. And Josh, if you want, you can take this off the screen for a second. As you're sitting cross-legged, if you have lavender available, take it out. And you're going to place just a little tiny bit on each fingertip. And then you're going to find these points on your feet, each one. If you're sitting cross-legged, you should be able to, or feet like in a butterfly position might be even easier if that's comfortable for you. But just get in a position that's comfortable because we're going to sit here for a couple of minutes. And what you want to do when you find this point is you're going to very lightly apply your finger there. Do not push hard. Anytime that we're working on the mental, emotional realm, we want to use very light pressure. And I'm going to have you close your eyes and just kind of settle back into your body. Settle back into your breath. And just start to notice as you breathe in and out any areas that you feel some tension. Maybe see if you can access any areas that you are feeling personally angry or frustrated, whether that anger be at yourself or at somebody else or just the circumstances that we're in. Just seeing if you can access that feeling in your body. What we're really trying to do when we're doing this is to have an embodied experience and come out of our head, out of the story. So feeling into your body, any anger, any frustration, and then taking some nice, slow, full, deep breaths into those areas. You're just basically creating space around the area that might feel tight or tense. Remaining with the pressure slightly on this point, liver 3. And as you begin to create some space on the inhale, what I want us to do is the positive aspect of the liver, the emotion associated with the liver, is compassion. So what we want to do as we breathe in is to see if we can breathe a sense of compassion, maybe towards yourself first. Compassion for the tendency maybe to get all caught up, or whatever part of yourself that you're feeling any type of frustration towards. And just breathe compassion. Breathing compassion on the inhale. And then exhaling any anger, any frustration. So we're breathing in compassion. And we're exhaling anger and frustration. Maybe this anger and frustration is towards somebody else or a circumstance. The same thing applies. On the inhale, breathing in compassion. Just creating space for that energy to move. And then exhaling and breathing out anger. Couple more breaths. Compassion on the inhale. Allowing it to fill every part of your being. Maybe the spaces that are not as tense anymore. Maybe there's more ease to your breath. Just allow compassion to come and fill all of those openings on the inhale. And then exhale and release the anger. And then when you're ready, you can let that one go. And I should have actually had you check in at the beginning to sort of rate the state that you were in. But just notice how you feel different than you did when we first started. And just let that settle in. And then Josh, you can pull back up the screen. We're going to move on to the heart and the element of fire and the emotion of hatred. You know, I think it can be really hard for us to admit that we have hatred towards something. So if that's too difficult right now, maybe think about it as irritation, something that's just irritating you. So we're going to do the same thing, same process as we did for the liver. We're going to, this time though, take rose essential oil. Rose is really great because it helps to vent out some of this emotional heat. When we get agitated, we get hot, right? So rose is just also an oil that is all about oneness and unconditional love. And actually the positive aspect of the heart or fire is oneness, a remembering of oneness and a feeling of unconditional love. So what we're going to do is this point on the wrist, heart 7, to see if you can locate that. This again is going to directly access the heart. And this one, it's going to be hard to do them both at the same time. So what you can do is just place a little bit on each wrist like this. Josh, if you want to take the presentation down, then I can show people. And then place the edges of your wrists together like this. And maybe you can turn it like this so that you're able to relax. And then close your eyes again. And just feel into any places inside that you have irritation. Irritation to something in your environment, something in your experience, could be another person. Maybe it's as far as hatred. Maybe there's some hatred in there for something that's happening in your environment at this time. Just accessing that with gentleness and with your breath and feeling the sensation. Like this can manifest itself in all different areas for people. Maybe you feel it in your throat. Maybe you feel it in your chest. Wherever it is in your body, just allow the breath on the inhale to create space around it, allowing yourself to just be present with what's there. And like I said, the positive emotion associated with the heart and with fire is unconditional love, or the remembrance that we are all one. So that sense of oneness. So on the inhale, see if you can breathe that unconditional love around that area that you might be feeling irritation or hatred. Unconditional love for yourself, gentleness for yourself. As you breathe in, allow that unconditional love to just touch those areas that feel any sense of irritation. And on the exhale, just see if you can breathe out that irritation, just letting it go. A lot of times the hardest thing is to allow that unconditional love into ourselves. It can be easier to love or to give that to somebody else. So in the beginning, maybe the person that you're feeling irritation towards, maybe you just breathe unconditional love into your body for that person. And then breathing out any irritation, any hatred. Maybe you notice that there's some heat associated with this because agitation and hatred are very hot emotions. Just being present with your body, with what's there, breathing in that unconditional love. And exhaling and letting go of and surrendering any of that irritation. On the exhale, a couple more breaths. Meeting yourself with gentleness on each inhale. And when you're ready, you can let that go. Kind of let that settle in. Notice how you feel differently in your body. Then we're going to move on. Josh, if you want to bring the presentation back up again, to the spleen, earth, and worry. I think this one is huge for almost every single person on the planet. So just again, knowing that the point that we're using because it directly accesses the spleen organ itself. And we're going to be using Coriander Essential Oil. And that's for a couple of reasons. I think it's like really important to point out that one thing that coriander is great for is helping to heal wounds of lack that are and that feeling that we're not supported or that we're not getting the nourishment that we need. Actually, coriander can come in and bring that nourishment on the deepest level for us. And so I want you to look at the diagram to see where that point is. It's the one that is actually not dark. I don't know why they did it that way. It's the one closest to the end of the toe. So you're going to come on the other side of that first hump. And a lot of times this is going to be tender. You can do this one the same way we did liver 3 by bringing your feet together if you're able, or just being cross-legged. But let's place a small amount of coriander on each fingertip. And then again, very lightly with gentle pressure, place your finger on spleen 3. And then Josh, you can take down the presentation if you like. So just come back into your body, just touch in, notice how things have shifted up until this point. Take a couple of deep breaths. And then see if you can touch into any places that you might be carrying worry. That tendency to just ruminate and think and think and think, or worst case scenario thinking. Or maybe that tendency to blame somebody else when we get really, really uncomfortable. Just noticing any places in yourself where that is true for you. And finding the sensation, finding the place of your body where you feel that. It's going to be different for everybody. Maybe it's in your pelvis. Maybe it's in your stomach. Just finding any place in your body where you feel tension related to that sense of worry, of blame. And taking nice, deep, gentle breaths into those spaces. So the positive emotion associated with the spleen and earth is trust. So what we're going to do is on the inhale, we're going to breathe in, allow ourselves to take in a sense of trust. Trust that everything is happening the way that it is meant to. Trust that we will be supported throughout our experience. Trust that things are happening for our greater good. Trust in our inner knowing, our intuition. Trust in our inner feelings, our inner guidance. So on the inhale, just breathe, trust. Trust into those places that feel worried, insecure, that feel a need to blame in order to get comfortable. Breathing trust on the inhale. And then exhaling and letting go of all of that feeling of worry, of that rat wheel in our head that just spins into stories and thoughts. And we're going to breathe in trust on the inhale, touching into all of those places. Maybe this one you feel the energy in your head, breathing into your head. Nice spaciousness and trust, and then exhaling. Just surrendering to the not knowing, surrendering to the uncertainty, because we trust, because we're tapping into that deeper sense of trust. All of these positive emotions exist within each and every single one of us in our natural state. They are there. Right now, we just have a lot of things sometimes that can cover over them, like clouds cover over the sun, but the sun never goes away. So that trust, that sense of trust is there. So breathe that trust in. Trust that through all of the uncertainty that's going on right now in our own lives, in our outer lives, in the whole world, trusting that everything is going to be taken care of. Everything is going to happen for our greater good. And that there are lessons, that there is so much that we can learn, that we can take through these difficult experiences that will nourish us. That's the nourishment of this element, of this organ. So allow that nourishment in as well as you breathe in nourishment. Feel it fill every part of your body. And then exhale any remaining worry. Couple more breaths. So allowing in that trust and that nourishment, and breathing out any remaining worry. You might feel areas of your body release. That's amazing. And then when you're ready, you can let that one go. Just let that settle in. Notice what's shifted for you, what feels different. And then Josh, when you're ready, You can bring back up the presentation. And we're going to move on to the lung, to metal, and to grief. So we are going to use either rosemary or sorrow. Rosemary is really going to help bring a sense of clarity between the self and what's outside of us. So it's going to clear away some of that confusion. But also sorrow, which is actually my favorite oil for this, is aptly named SARO, is used to help move and deal with sorrow, SORROW. So it is perfect for grief. It's amazing, the law of signatures. So take a little bit of rosemary or sorrow. I actually have some sorrow here. And we're going to place it on this point called lung 9, again, because it directly will access the lung organ itself. And so we are going to be placing a little bit on each fingertip and then placing it like we did for heart 7, which was on the opposite side of the wrist. And if you want, you can bring your wrists together. Josh, you can take down the presentation. You can bring your wrists together like this, or you can just do one side, whatever feels most comfortable to you. And then again, close your eyes, settle back inside. Again, feeling what's different from when we first started. And then seeing if you can tap into any feelings in your body of sadness, of loss, of grief. Maybe it's sadness for the life that you once had. Maybe it's sadness for the loss of a connection with somebody that you love. Any grief, any sadness, or maybe what you find inside is just this criticism, this tendency to criticize what's going on, criticize what other people say. These are all defensive mechanisms that this element and this organ will do when it's out of balance. When it is in balance, the healthy emotion associated with the lung and metal is integrity. It's a sense of alignment, of integrity within ourselves, where we are in alignment with our own values. We're basically like walking our walk, we're talking our talk. We have clarity because of this sense of integrity. So what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in space first around any of those feelings that we might have of grief, of sadness, of judgment, of criticism. Just feel in your body the physical sensations. Locating that in your body, and then inhaling, breathing in the sense of integrity, the sense of alignment to your own soul, alignment to your own values, alignment to your own light, that there's a clarity in that. So breathe that in around some of these more difficult, heavier feelings, and just allow that to ventilate, to begin to move, to begin to allow those more stuck feelings the opportunity to be felt, to be acknowledged, but then ultimately to be let go of, so that we can move into this higher vibration of integrity, that we can allow that integrity that already is within us to come forth. So just really breathing that sense of integrity into any remaining feelings of sadness, of grief, of judgment, criticism. Really feeling that spaciousness on the inhale, and then letting go on the exhale, just releasing everything that's not serving you. All the stories that lead to the judgment and the criticism, usually those come from our discomfort in actually looking at where we might be out of alignment with our own integrity. And we get so much power when we come back and we bring that light, that flashlight inside of ourselves, not in a harsh way, not in a judgmental way, but in a way of bringing clarity. This is where I've been out of alignment. Wow, how amazing that I have the opportunity to see that right now, and that I have the opportunity to shift, to make a shift within myself. So just breathe in that integrity, that clarity, and exhale any remaining judgment, criticism, grief, sadness. Couple more breaths. Again, your body might have physical releases. That's great. And then when you're ready, you can let that go. Let's let that settle in for a second. Just feeling what's changed in our body, in our mind. And then Josh, when you're ready, you can bring up that last slide. We're going to move on to the kidney and finish this rotation of the 5 yin organs and the 5 elements and the 5 emotions. So the kidneys are associated with the element of water and the emotion of fear. And we are going to be using black spruce for this point. Black spruce is amazing at releasing fear, especially any fear that's related to financial insecurities or worries. Black spruce is really, really amazing for that. And we are going to use this point, kidney 3. As you can see in the diagram, it's between your inner malleolus or ankle bone and your Achilles tendon. You're going to come into a soft spot there. And so the positive emotion associated with the kidneys and water is wisdom. So we're going to place a little bit of black spruce on each finger point, on each fingertip. And then Josh, when you're ready, you can take down the presentation. And then gently, very light pressure, place your finger on that point, kidney 3. Again, this is easier to do if you have your feet together in like a butterfly position or sitting cross-legged. And then just drop back down into your body, drop down into your breath. And just become curious. Become curious of any place inside where you may be carrying fear. And sometimes maybe this fear is not even your own. Maybe it's a collective fear that you're just empathic and that you've taken on. Just identifying any fear that you feel in your body, in any areas that you feel that fear. Could also be like any areas of your body where you feel kind of closed off, numb, where you've kind of like frozen inside. Just identifying any of those areas. And then as we breathe in, we're going to allow some spaciousness to begin to come to those places. Usually they feel some kind of restriction, some kind of tightness. The breath just creates space around those areas. Maybe you feel that fear in your chest. Just breathing, nice, gentle, spacious breaths around that fear. And after we've touched into the feeling and the sensation in our body, then we want to focus on breathing in this sense of wisdom, this sense of what I was referring to earlier, of being able to gain knowledge from our experiences, the ability to grow from the things that are happening to us, and the wisdom that comes from taking value, even from the most difficult of experiences in our life. This is where we get the most wisdom. So taking nice deep breaths, allowing that wisdom to come in, because that wisdom is already within you. Remember, I said all of these positive emotions exist within every single one of us. We're just accessing them now and allowing them to come forth from behind the clouds. So let's breathe some wisdom, some spaciousness around the feelings of fear. We breathe in the wisdom on the inhale, then we exhale, and we just allow that fear to just naturally on its own move with the breath on the exhale. In this way, it's just this energy that's become stuck in time and space, and our breath is just allowing it to come up, be processed through our physiology, and then released through the breath. So again, touching any remaining fear. Maybe that fear is moving. Maybe you feel it now in your throat or your head. Just allowing the breath to go to those places, creating spaciousness on the inhale. Really allowing that wisdom, that learning, all of that valuable information that's available in these difficult times to come and fill the spaces of fear, and then exhaling, releasing, and letting go. Letting go of everything that's not serving. Couple more breaths like this. One more. Really absorbing, really receiving that wisdom from deep within you. And exhaling any remaining static, any remaining fear. And when you're ready, you can let that go. And come back. Whew. So let that whole experience really settle into your body and kind of check in to where you were when you first started on this call, Josh. Maybe if you're willing to share kind of how you felt before we started and how you feel now.
Yeah, sure. I mean, before we jumped on, I had a lot going on today. So just podcast interviews, calls. So I was just feeling very, I don't know if overwhelms the word, but just very manic, maybe. Like I had a lot of this kind of feeling where I was holding on to this. I had to get everything done. And also it helps that this is my last big task today. So so being able to just kind of let all that go, man. I feel like a big weight vest has been taken off right now. I felt tension in my like torso when you were talking about channeling some of those energies. I could feel a lot chest and like belly and chest is a lot of what I was feeling.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I just think it's amazing that, even just acupressure and essential oils can have such a profound impact. And just taking a few moments, this is going to be available to replay. So if you need to, this is just a great way to work with those emotions while you're at home. So I'm glad. I feel kind of in a completely different state right now. So.
Got elevated, man. Good stuff. Awesome. Aiden, thank you so much. This was great, man. It was really cool to be able to do this practically with you. We still have a couple people on. Would you mind maybe taking maybe a quick Q&A if people maybe have a couple questions?
Sure.
There's a couple of you on still. So as you're coming back to and letting go of some of that stuff, maybe comment in what you felt. If you felt something, like I explained to you what I was kind of feeling. I felt a lot of the chest and a lot of the like my stomach, like my upper diaphragm area kind of was where I felt tension, I guess. And then feeling a lot better, I was able to release that. And then if you had a question of any kind about acupuncture, healing, essential oils, breath work, any of those kind of things, if you want to chat it in, just chat it in. We'll take a couple questions. It's hit or miss on these sometimes, Aiden. Sometimes I'll ask for questions, I won't get any, and then sometimes I won't ask for questions, I'll get like 100. So,
no worries.
and then everybody's probably feeling a little elevated right now, so we'll see if anything comes through. All right. So we'll let them come through. They come through, but it looks like maybe people are feeling good. So, Aiden, man, I really thank you for jumping on today with me and taking some time. If nothing else, it felt like a good session for me. So thank you. I truly appreciate it.
Absolutely, Josh. My pleasure.
Would you do me a favor? Would you at least let us know how we can connect with you, Aiden? Whether it's your website or social media or whatever. How can people find out more about you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go back and share this screen really quick because I actually wanted to mention something special that I want to offer right now during these times. Like I was talking about earlier, I think
this was a comment that came through. This was cool.
With unique times like this, we need to have creative and unique responses. And so one thing that is really clear to me in my own heart is that I want to help as many people as I can. And so what I'd like to offer to the whole Fitness on Fire community, and I can post this in the community page for those who are not still on the call, is just that, like, if you feel like you need support or help, I am seeing patients in my office and taking necessary safety precautions and screening everybody before they come in. But I'm also doing Zoom calls. So we could, do work like we did just now. But the offer is just that, I'm going to be doing that on a sliding scale. Meaning that, like, just feel within yourself and your heart what you're able to give at this time in exchange for your treatment, and we'll make it work, and as times change and situations improve, then we can renegotiate that down the line. But I just want to really be able to be as much service as I can right now. So that's why I'm just offering sliding scale to all Fitness on Fire community members. And then lastly, I'm super excited about this. I'm doing guided mindfulness meditations for nurses and doctors and healthcare professionals on the front lines. I actually have my first one at 4:30 tonight with some nurses that work at UCI on the med-surg floor. My sister is a nurse there. And so she was able to get a group of people together, and we're going to do maybe something somewhat similar to what we did now, guided mindfulness meditation there. So if you could share this, again, like I said, contact me through my email here, heartcenteracu@gmail.com, and I will send that along to you. And I can also send the entire presentation to you as well.
Super cool. That would be great, man. And then we'll at least send out a recap so people that weren't able to jump on live with us today could go back and revisit this. And it's really cool with the platform we're using. Not only are we on the Fitness on Fire community page, but we're also on YouTube today. So I'll be able to send out that YouTube link later to people that might have missed it, or if you guys wanted to revisit this and go through some of these mind thoughts and the breathing work. So thank you, Aiden. Really appreciate your time today, man. This was awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. I appreciate it. It's been great. I love it.
Awesome. Thank you, Aiden. Have a phenomenal day, brother.
All right. Bye.